From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, it's Casino Secrets with Vegas Vic and Ziggy.
Hello, I'm Vegas Vic. Welcome to the continuation of our recent Periscope broadcast.
Okay, Ziggy, what do we got?
Let's go back into history of some of these gambling things that you weren't part of, but your book talks about not just stories that happened to you, but famous stories from Vegas in the past.
Right.
Why are aces and eights called the dead man's hand?
Oh yes, this goes back to Wild Bill Hickok, who was shot at the number 10 saloon in Deadwood, South Dakota. Is it South Dakota or North Dakota, Deadwood? Well, it doesn't matter. I can't remember right now. Anyway, most people will know this story from history. Wild Bill Hickok was a famous gambler and raconteur in the Old West. Anyway, he was. They were playing at the time. They were playing five-card stud, which is a game similar to video poker today. And five-card draw, which is the game that's being played at video poker today. And on this particular occasion, he was sitting with his back to the door, which he usually never did. He usually always sat in a seat that was against the wall, so they could see the door and be ready in case somebody wanted to go gunning for him. But he arrived late at the game, and the only seat that was open was the one with his back to the door. So he sat there, and as luck would have it, the gentleman that didn't like him came in there, put a gun to his head, and shot him in the back of the head. And as he fell dead, he dropped his cards, and in his hand, he had a hand of 2 aces and 2 eights. And from then on, it was called the dead man's hand. Now, most people have been having an argument ever since as to what was the 5th card. Now, in some of the accounts of the time, in the newspapers, it says it was the 10 of diamonds. But it was actually the Queen of spades. And the reason why is this, because eventually there became a game known as the Black Bitch, which is, of course, a name that today we wouldn't call any card game, but at that time, the card game developed from that because that was the 5th card in that particular game. And that's why it became known as the dead man's hand, the dead man who held that hand, aces and eights. So you got something else, Ziggy?
Yeah. In your book, when I say that, you should hold your book up.
I should hold my book out. Okay.
Yeah, you don't. For someone promoting their book, you don't hold it up enough or talk about it enough.
I don't hold up my book enough and promote it enough. Okay, so we're talking about my book, folks.
What is it? In here, you call something called a carpet joint.
A carpet joint. Yes.
What is that, and how does that differ from what? What does that mean, carpet joint?
Well, at the outset, it would mean that it's a joint that has a carpet. You should see Ziggy right now. He's shaking his head saying,
Stay away from the jokes, tell the story.
Stay away from the joke, tell the story. Okay. Well, Las Vegas used to be pretty much a cowboy town, and most of the casinos were in downtown Las Vegas. The place on Fremont Street, which used to be known as Glitter Gulch, but now it's the Fremont Street Experience. But at the time, it was a cowboy joint, and it was called Sawdust Joint, because in the Old West, they would put sawdust on the floor to soak up spilled drinks, blood, and all these other kind of unnecessary accidents that might happen to a bunch of rowdy cowboys who have had too much to drink. And so those were known as sawdust joints. Now, when Bugsy Siegel, the famous gangster from New York and Los Angeles, built the Flamingo Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip in 1947, which then opened and closed in 1948 and reopened a bit later, that was the first casino in Las Vegas where they actually put carpets on the casino floor and made it like one of those chic hotels and places of dining and fine dining and gambling as they were known in New York. And from that time on, the distinction on the Strip was that those were the carpet joints as opposed to downtown Las Vegas that were the sawdust joints. And that's how the expression the carpet joint came to be to signify the casinos on the Strip.
Speaking of Bugsy Siegel, there's a lot you can talk about.
Yes.
Let's limit it to what people get wrong. What can you clear? What is it that is kind of known about Bugsy Siegel that we've just assumed and is wrong, that you have clarified in your book?
Well, Bugsy Siegel was part of the Jewish mafia from New York with Meyer Lansky, and it was in partnership with Lucky Luciano, the boss of the Five Families of New York at the time. And he was a kind of a debonair man about town, and he fancied himself as a playboy and wanted to become an actor. And so he wanted to move to Hollywood. And you know, while he was in Hollywood, he set up all the rackets over there for the East Coast mob, of course. And he met a girl called Virginia, whose name was the Flamingo, and that's how the Flamingo Casino became. He named it after her. And he unfortunately failed very badly at trying to be an actor. He became friends with the actor George Raft, who was also a former gangster from New York, but became a very successful actor in Hollywood. And on one of these occasions, they drove through what was a dusty little waterhole in the middle of nowhere called Las Vegas, and got the idea to build one of those carpet joints that were so popular in New York and on the East Coast, and build it in Las Vegas, because here gambling was legal as opposed to anywhere else in the United States at the time when it was illegal. And so he wanted to create a casino where the East Coast mob could launder their money, and also a place that would be able to make money. But he was very bad at this, and what happened is that the casino was originally budgeted at $1.5 million, but it came in over $6 million, which really angered Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano, and eventually led them to assassinate Bugsy Siegel. But one of the things that people don't know about is that the reason for the overruns is because Bugsy was so bad at organizing the building of the Flamingo, is that the suppliers that would send him bricks and that would send him lumber and would provide him with other building materials, what they would do is that they would drive in with the trucks and show him an invoice and say, you know, we're delivering X tons of lumber, and he would sign off on it. Then they would drive out again, drive around the block, come back a little bit later on and sell him the same stuff again. And he didn't know, and that's how the overages came. And he was also scheming money and depositing it in Switzerland in Virginia's name and account. And when the bosses found out about it from New York, they had him shot and killed, and in Beverly Hills, California, at his girlfriend's house. A murder which to this day remains unsolved.
Hello, Vegas Vic back again. Thank you very much for watching our program. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It's very easy. Just click the subscribe button on your screen. It only takes a second, and then you'll be notified every time we post a video. You can also follow me on Twitter. My handle is @GamingAuthor. So until next time, I'll see you soon. So long.
Thank you.